Hi, welcome to my leg day for MMA. Hoping to improve my speed, power, explosiveness. So if you're into MMA, jiu-jitsu, football, sprinting, or any sport where you need that extra edge in your leg strength, this is the leg day for you. We're hitting ballistic movements, so a little bit of med balls, mainly for speed, plyometrics, and power. Build that raw strength to make sure those muscles are firing at 100%, as you may need to in your sport. This just isn't a typical bodybuilding leg day. This is about translating that gym strength into real world athletic performance and making sure that you're able to dominate in your sport from the athletic and power based standpoint. So if you want to build that elite power in your legs, explode off the ground and develop an unshakable core, this is the leg day for you. So firstly, looking at the table here, we have split up the workout from week 1 into power work, which is at a high intensity, strength work, also fairly intense, however not always using 100% of our effort, into the core section at the end. So I'll show you some video of these as we go along and explain a bit more about them. So firstly, getting into our pogo hops here, we are making sure to stay light on the feet with quick reactive bounces off the floor. Immediately as we're touching the floor, we're looking to go straight back up in the shortest amount of time possible. And we're keeping the legs relatively straight here and using the ankles mainly rather than the calf and leg muscles, focusing on head and strength, maintaining upright posture and avoiding excessive bending of the knees. Next, into our lateral skater, we are looking to push explosively off the ground with the outside foot, using our arms to swing ourselves in a running type of movement and landing softly, absorbing force with the hip and the knee, maintaining our balance and a low athletic stance throughout. Also making sure to control the movement all the way through without rushing, as you may have seen in a few of those reps there. After our lateral skater, we're going to get into the drop jump to box, with the maximum height being 30 centimeters of the second box to ensure that we are aiming for a fast contact rather than a high vertical jump. We're going to step off the box rather than jump off to ensure that you're landing properly in an athletic stance with the knees bent, tension in the ankles and the core engaged to avoid falling forwards. Here we are focusing on quick ground contact time, so ensuring that the least amount of time on the ground possible occurs. Into the final section of our power work, we have a broad jump where the main technique points are, the goal is firstly to jump as far as possible off of 2 feet, landing on 2 feet. And the main thing you're focusing on here is a good arm swing as high as possible to generate power. Loading the hips as you set your arse backwards and sit into the hips, as I do slowly here just off the screen. And exploding forward as well as upwards, preferably at a 45-degree angle. And landing softly with the knees slightly bent to absorb the impact. Also, trying your best to stick the landing, which I have not done a great job of here, and avoiding excessive forward movement after landing, just to improve that extra bit of balance. Next, onto our strength work, we have the first one, which is a safety bar squat. Obviously the safety bar is optional, however it can improve your posture. It does that by bringing the weight forward slightly so that you're able to keep a straighter back if you have issues with shoulder posture. Here I'm using a straight barbell, and what you'll notice here is the tempo of the squat, which I have as a 2-1-1 tempo, 2 going down, slight pause at the bottom and a push up. And the reason for this is to control the contraction to maximally engage the muscles, also keeping the core braced to maintain a good posture, as well as the upright torso and straight back, in addition to the full range of motion of the squat, getting down to a 90-degree angle. Obviously this is depending on your mobility, how far you'll be able to go down, depending on your ankles, on your knees and hips. And yeah, just make sure to keep that posture nice and upright to keep pressure off the lower back, which I learned firsthand. You can certainly have some pains and stresses down there if you do not do so. Next is our barbell Romanian deadlift, where we'll be maintaining a neutral spine, avoiding the rounding of the lower back, hinging at the hips rather than bending the knees excessively, which basically looks like a very slight knee bend, and majority of the pivot movement is coming from the hips. Throughout the movement, you want to keep the bar close to the body, which is why some people prefer to hold the bar slightly narrower than typically held, and also make sure to squeeze the glutes at the top of the movement, making sure that you don't overly use your lower back, as this can lead to back pain. Next is our 2D lunge, where we are stepping in 2 different directions with each leg to improve mobility and balance. Firstly, step with control, maintain a balance all the way throughout the movement. You should not be shaking excessively or falling over at any point, and also making sure that the front knee in line with the toes. If you're able to go further than that, then that will also improve your soleus mobility, the muscle next to your calf. During this movement, you want to also maintain an upright torso and avoid leaning forward excessively, keeping your posture upright 90 degrees to the floor. Also engage the core throughout the movement. This will help with your balance, and drive through the front heel to return to your standing position. Next, onto our single leg glute drive or hip thrust. Here you will be controlling the movement throughout with a strong lockout and the glute squeeze at the top. You want to, as you're going down, avoid hyperextending the lower back, overly rounding the lower back. You want to focus on hip extension instead, and as I've actually not done a great job of in this video, you want to keep that top leg's shin vertical, one with the heel on the platform throughout the whole movement. The push should come through the heel and engage the glutes almost in isolation with a bit of hamstring assistance. Together in superset with our glute drive, we have next the Copenhagen hold, where we are trying our best to maintain a straight line from head to toe, making sure that those hips do not sag down, which is where the strength in the core comes into play. You want to keep the core tight and engaged all the way throughout the movement, as that is what you're aiming to improve in this exercise. You want to make sure that you're breathing steadily throughout to make sure the oxygen is going to your muscles, avoiding excessive movement or shaking. Try and keep everything tight and engaged, and using the top leg to drive the tension, keeping the lower leg stable. The last exercise of our tricep will be the seated soleus raise, and this will include a 2-1-2 tempo, meaning from the bottom pushing up for 2 seconds, pausing for 1 at the top and coming back down for 2 seconds. The 12 reps on this exercise are due to the fact that the soleus is a smaller muscle in our body, and hence leaning the training more into hypertrophy and endurance rather than power based. Within the movement itself, you're focusing on controlling it, avoiding bouncing at the bottom to make sure that your muscles are engaged the whole way through, keeping the weight steady and emphasizing the full range of motion throughout the movement, going all the way down and all the way back up, as well as maintaining an upright posture so that you don't add any weight to your legs. Finally, into our accessory work with the leg falls supersetted with the bands for our shoulders. We are looking at keeping the core engaged and avoiding overarching the lower back, making sure that there is not too much of a gap between our lower back and the ground. We want to control the movement all the way over, not letting the momentum because of gravity take over. We want to work against that, controlling and contracting all the way through, using slow, deliberate motions to maximize core engagement. Also, throughout the movement, you want to maintain a steady breathing to ensure the oxygen is supplied to your muscles. Within our external rotation band exercises, we want to ensure that the posture is upright with the shoulders back and downwards and the back straight, controlling each rep with a slow and steady movement, not snapping as much as I am in this video here. That brings us to the end of the video, and thank you for watching. I hope this breakdown of exercises helps you with your training, and remember, pay attention to tempo, rest times and getting the proper form for the best results. Consistency and control are a key to making progress, and if you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe for more training tips and exercise breakdowns. Keep pushing forwards, and I'll see you in the next one.